our 7th Facebook Live. And I think we're 4 for 7 because we had 2 glitches, so we're going today. Okay, yes, Mike, my sound and engineer man, thank you. So I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'm here to share some songs with you and to tell you what was the inspiration from some of the songs, and just to carry on from there. So thank you, and here I go. I'm going to play a piece first, and then I'm going to tell you the story about my second piano, so I don't get off track here and I remember. So I'll come back to that in a second. The first piece I'm going to play is by a contemporary artist, and his name is Gratz. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I learned a piece of his years ago, and it's always stuck with me. I've always really, really liked it, and whenever I've played it in any occasion out in public, most people ask, you know, what is that song? They really like it. It's very catchy. So here's a song called The Green Room by Gratz. And Wayne, if you happen to listen to it, I hope you approve. So, probably not exactly the way that Wayne played it, but still, I just love that piece, and it's always going to stick with me. So if you remember last time, if you were with me, I told you about the very first piano that came to our family was given to our neighbors, and was given to us by our neighbors because they were moving. And it was a Gulbranson. If you're familiar with that brand name, it really was quite a substantial, hearty, strong, good-sounding piano. But I didn't know that then because I had never had a piano before. And at that time, when we moved from one house at point A to B, the piano came with us, and it went from a basement to the back of a store because we had a grocery store where we lived upstairs, and my mom decided she was going to have a grocery store business while my dad worked at the steel mill. So we lived upstairs, and the piano stayed downstairs in the back of the store. And I remember my mom, because she ran this business 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, kind of, no, 6 days a week, I think. She definitely not on Sundays. 12 hours a day, always down there. And she would, when somebody would come in and bring coins, I remember her always looking at the coins. So if it was a penny or a nickel, she might turn it over and look at the date. And if it was something worthy about it to her, she put it in a special place in that cash register. She didn't put it with the other change. And over time, she had approximately $800 worth of coins that she thought was more valuable than their face value. So when we moved to point C, and you know, a pianist always wants to have a better piano, a baby grand or grand, that sort of story, I found a piano for sale somewhere, and it was $1,500. And my mom got a hold of the seller, and he agreed to take $800 worth of coins in exchange for that piano. So that's the story of how I got my first baby grand. And then over the years, I came to find out it was not a very good piano. It looked good, but it was not that good of a piano. I don't even remember the name. So now I'm going to go into my songs. When we lived in Colorado, I gave a concert, and I had written a song, but I didn't have a name for it. And I had a very nice audience that day, and I had cards for them to make suggestions and recommendations. And I said, this song does not have a name. If you have a feeling for a name of it, and if you share it with me, maybe that will prompt a name. And Rudy Sapper was in the audience, and his suggestion for the song was Flight of the Hummingbird. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. I never thought it sounded like a bird, but it does. But I couldn't use flight. Maybe you can figure out why. So I called it Song of the Hummingbird. So Rudy, in your memory, and for anybody else that might be interested, this particular song I recorded on my 6th CD. And so I don't have time to memorize all my music. I have to refer to notes to help me remember it. So here's Song of the Hummingbird. Is that too much talking?
No.
I get criticized for that, so whatever. Okay, Song of the Hummingbird. that song really came from 2 chords. And you know, when you play something and you hear it and you go, wow, I really like that. I want to see if I play around with that thought, what will come to me. And a lot of you know this piece. So just that 2 chord change, that's where I got that idea. Just thinking about that 2 chord change that Satie did. Of course, it's not the same chords, but it is the same timing. So with that thought in mind, I'd like to play a piece for you that I don't have a name for. We have a little problem, no problem, that I don't have a name for. So if you hear something in this piece that might suggest a title, I welcome you to send it to me with your suggestions. I did have a thought for a name today, but I'm not definite, and I'm not even sure how long this is going to be. But so here's my song without a name for you to help me name today. maybe you can help me out with that song. And the name, even though Rory suggests Moonlight Song. It fits. Yeah, thanks, Rory. That will fit. The next piece I'm going to play, I want to tell you the story of this piece. So my college roommate, Kathy, I had two Kathys, but one Kathy that was my roommate the longest, her mom put together a book with some of her family memoirs and experiences. And when I was visiting Kathy once, I saw it. And as soon as I saw the title, I said, oh, I can write a song with that title. So this is for Lula Mae Gosley, and her book was called Angels Along the Way. So here's my song, Angels Along the Way. Okay, and on to the next. For those of you that are baseball lovers, you know this was mentioned to me by somebody in the family once, and it stuck with me, that the bat has a sweet spot. And I get that with the piano. Every key has a sweet spot, and your finger has a sweet spot. So 10 fingers, 88 keys. It's like good luck finding all the sweet spots every time you play a song. So my next song is a song I wrote and I gave the title after. And again, it wasn't any particular inspiration for the piece, maybe just the key. And I named it Misted Morn, and I just think misty mornings are very mystical and enchanting. And I hope you think the song is too. So here's Misted Morn. Oh, we're over here. There it is. discovered over all my years of playing, which have been a few, is that I prefer the black keys to the white keys. And I actually prefer the flats to the sharps. And I'm sure mathematicians would say that doesn't make any sense. They're all the same frequency, or physicists, or whoever's the expert in sound and vibrations. But to me, flat keys just are more inviting to my ear. And also minor. I like minor better than major, even though I think it's great to fluctuate. And I love changing meters, maybe starting a song in 3/4, then going to 4/4, or vice versa. So I'd like to play one more song for you. And what I'd like to ask you, besides I'd love for you to buy everything that I have a closet full of books and CDs. But if you could share anything that you like with any of your friends, that would be fantastic. My music is on Spotify, my music is on Pandora. I'm working on my website. I'm not very good at that. I'll even show you, technology somehow manages to escape me. So when I write my songs, I prefer to do it the old-fashioned way. Can you have a look at, can you see that, Mike?
Here, I'll get it closer.
All right, get it closer. So for those of you that write music this way, and I'm sure you can relate, my notes are not easy to read because they're more like slits than they are circles. I don't have the, somehow, you know, when I'm writing, I need to move on. So I don't have time to make a nice big round note. Let's make a little slit and go, and hopefully I remember what my slits mean. So the last song I'm going to play for you is perfect for the season because everybody's out in the park. I just happened to be in Bethesda, Maryland a few weeks ago, and the foliage and the blooms and everything was spectacular, very amazing. So here's my last song for you, and it's called Walk in the Park. thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you probably again in about a month. And remember, when you're not practicing, somebody else is. So I gotta go practice. Bye.